for Reading Day by Marjorie Kyler.
I love reading.
I do too.
I read chapter books.
I'm so glad. Do you think our main character likes reading?
Yeah.
I'm glad you like reading. I do too, very much. Oh, this is about Jessica. I peeped. I love this one. I had a dog that would do that if I was reading. Jessica was a worrier. She worried all the time. She worried about the monsters under her bed, and getting a haircut, and going to the dentist, and remembering to walk Wiggles.
Dogs need Wiggles.
But in first grade, she had a big worry, reading. Mr. Martin had divided the class into small groups. When it was Jessica's turn to read, she had trouble sounding out the words. She read cat for cat and dish for dish. Sometimes the other kids laughed, and Jessica turned as red as a radish. "Stop making fun," Mr. Martin said to the group. Then he asked Jessica to go back to the beginning and try again. Jessica hated it when he said that. What if she made another mistake? One morning, Mr. Martin gave the kids a book called Hot Pot. "Please read the first sentence out loud," he said to Jessica. Jessica's stomach flip-flopped. "Can I go last?" she asked. "If that will help," said Mr. Martin. "Dot had a pot," read Anita. "The pot had a spot," said Leslie. "Dot put the pot on a cot," read Bobby. "What a dumb story," thought Jessica. "Your turn," said Mr. Martin. Jessica took a deep breath. "The pot was snot," she read. Everyone laughed at her mistake. Jessica wanted to sink into the floor. "Shh," Mr. Martin said to the class. Then he said to Jessica, "Try again. I know you can do it." Jessica looked down. The words swam. She closed her eyes so that the words would stop swimming. Then she opened her eyes and read, "The pot was hot." "Much better," said Mr. Martin. The next morning, Mr. Martin announced, "Friday is Reading Theater Day. I want each of you to read a line from your books out loud. And if I want you to dress up in costumes, that will make it much more fun. I've invited your parents, and we'll have cupcakes and juice." Jessica's stomach turned a somersault. Read out loud? Wear a costume? She thought she'd rather get a splinter in her tongue than do that. At dinner that night, Jessica didn't feel like eating. "What's wrong?" asked Mom. "Everything," said Jessica. "Go on," said Dad. "Tell us." Jessica sighed. "Mr. Martin said he invited the parents to Reading Theater." "That's right," said Mom. "We're looking forward to it." "Not me," said Jessica. "I don't want to read in front of a bunch of strangers, especially a line from a dumb story about a pot, and I definitely don't want to wear a costume." "Why not?" said Mom. "I had to do that once. It wasn't easy, since I was the slowest reader in first grade. Then one day, everything clicked, and I became the best reader in the class." "Oh," said Jessica. "I'll help you with your costume," said Laura. "You can dress up as a sheet." "Or a pillow," said Tom. "Very funny," said Jessica. That night, Jessica couldn't sleep. Words floated around in her head. Hot, pot, snot, spot, dot, caught. Finally, she turned on the light. Wiggles woke up and licked her face. "Stop that," said Jessica. Then she got an idea. "Maybe I'll practice on you." She opened her backpack and pulled out her copy of Hot Pot. Wiggles snuggled up next to her. Jessica opened the book and began to read. Dot had a pot. The pot had a spot. Dot put the pot on the cot. The pot was hot. Jessica looked at Wiggles. "I didn't make any mistakes," she said. "It's easy to read to you." The next day, Mr. Martin asked Jessica to read out loud. Jessica mixed up some of the words. "Pot had a dot," she read. Everyone giggled. "Don't worry," said Mr. Martin. "It's not the end of the world if you make a mistake." But to Jessica, it was. She'd have to practice all day and all night for reading theater. When Jessica got home, she read to Wiggles. I love Wiggles. She read the whole story through without making any mistakes. Wiggles gave her doggy kisses. "Maybe if I can read to you," said Jessica, "I can read to anybody. If Mom learned to be a good reader, why can't I?" "Arf! Arf!" Finally, it was the day of reading theater. Jessica went to school wrapped in a blanket. When the parents began to arrive, Jessica put the blanket over her head. Mr. Martin greeted everyone. Then he asked Jessica's group to stand up. Jessica kept the blanket over her head and she walked to the front of the classroom. Anita read first, then Leslie. Next it was Bobby's turn. Todd put the top on a spot, he read. Jessica threw off her blanket. She stared at Bobby. He had made a mistake. He never made mistakes. And now it was her turn. Jessica's knees shook. She closed her eyes and pictured Wiggles. Then she opened her eyes and pretended she was reading to him. "The pot was hot," she read. Whew, she got it right. She closed the book with a bang and sat down. The parents all clapped. So did all the other kids. Mom and Dad clapped loudest of all. "You were great," said Mom. "Hooray for reading day," said Dad. "Bravo," said Mr. Martin. "I knew you could do it." Jessica smiled. That night, she read another story to Wiggles, and then another, and then another. Wiggles licked the book. "You must like this story," Jessica said. Then she gave him a big hug, and they both fell asleep. What a great story. Thank you. My good listeners.
That was a good story.
It was wonderful.
Oh, Perley, there was a whole flock of robins on our lawn, and there had been all kinds of red-winged blackbirds. And you know, I was really excited. When we were at the farm, we started really, a lot of things begin to happen. And I've already started some of my seeds for flowers, and Farmer Bob is doing all kinds of stuff. But I was so happy this morning. I read an article about Mrs. Obama. And do you know what she's doing? And she's doing it today, the first day of spring. She is planting the first garden on the White House lawn, on the South White House lawn. And it's going to be, she's going to have a fifth grade class in Washington, D.C. will be helping her. They're going to start digging the soil. And the lot, I said it was the first, since Roosevelt, when President Roosevelt lived at the White House, they did have a victory garden. There hasn't been a garden since then. So she's going to do that. There are going to be 55 different vegetables and fruits. there's one vegetable they're not going to have because President Obama doesn't like. Does anyone know what vegetable he doesn't like? Beets. They're not going to eat any beets. I love beets.
I got some from your farm.
You
They're so
did?
good.
They're so delicious.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the one vegetable. They're going to have 55 different varieties so that they can have some really fine, fresh vegetables and fruits in the garden. And the cooks, the chefs at the White House are going to use those vegetables. Mrs. Obama says that everybody's going to help weed, whether they like it or not, she said. They're going to weed. And,
I'd be weeding.
and Mrs. Obama has never had a garden before. She's never had it. Yes.
Me and my brother have a little garden full of vegetables and fruit. I used to grow strawberries in there. I think I'm gonna do them again because they're really good. And I grew tomatoes.
Ah, good for you. I hope lots of you will work on it and do it this year.
And green beans.
Ah, great. Well, what you're asking about why this is my favorite book. I had this book when I was a little girl, a little girl, Mother Goose. And I bet you know the 2 Mother Goose rhymes I'm going to read, and you can help me read them. And you'll see why I'm going to read them in a little bit. Ba ba black sheep. Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
All right, you can help me read it. Ba ba black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, yes sir, 3 bags full. 1 for my master, 1 for my dame, and 1 for the little boy who lives in the lane. There are no pictures to go to this, but the other one I wanted to read was Mary Had a Little Lamb. Here's the little lamb that Mary had. And
Mary, a little
Mary had a little, I know it's a song, but I'm going to read just the poem part. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. It followed her to school one day, which was against the rules. And so the teacher made the children laugh and play to see a lamb at school. And so the teacher turned it out. But still, it lingered near. Lingered, you know what that means? Hung around, stayed around. But still, it lingered near and waited patiently about till Mary did appear. And then it ran to her and laid its head upon her arm, as if it said, I'm not afraid, you'll keep me from all harm. What makes the lamb love Mary so? The eager children cry. Why, Mary loves the lamb, you know, the teacher did reply. And so I want to read you, remember I told you the last time that I used to try to think of something on the farm, and a farm book that I could read. I don't always read that. But this was a funny story. It's a yarn.
Read the funny
Do
story.
you know what a yarn is?
Like one of those things that you can use for sewing.
Yeah, right. Yarn is that you can knit, knit pearl. That's a yarn, that's yarn. But it's also used in a whole different way. Yarn, a yarn is like a story, a far-fetched story. It's like a made-up, make-believe story. So, this is a yarn. Farmer Brown, should we call him Farmer Bob?
Yes.
All right, Farmer Bob shears his sheep. Do you know what shears? Do you know what that
Yeah,
means?
he lets people borrow. Shaves. He
Shaves it, cuts off the wool. It's a yarn about wool, meaning a story about wool. All right, and it's a pretty good one. Yes, Farmer Bob. There he is. Farmer Bob was shearing sheep, piling up a snowy heap
Can we
of
go
wool.
shearing? Can we go shearing?
All right. Piling up a snowy heap of wool that filled his shed, knee deep. Clip, clip, buzz, buzz. He took their wool and left them fuzz. Have you ever seen a sheep that's all been sheared where he's just fuzz? Have you?
The Topsfield fair.
Yeah, right.
I saw
You
one
did
at
too?
the Topsfield.
You did too? Great, that's a really, did you?
He packs it.
Neat. Well, he took all their wool. He filled his bags up one by one with fleece. But when his work was done, clouds had covered up the sun. The sheep saw all their wool in sacks, Bah! They cried. We want it back!
You gotta grow it back. That one's wanted.
Oh, the sun is growing behind that cloud. Oh my gosh. Soon the farmer's sheep were shivering. They followed him. He was delivering all their wool to Mr. Green.
Mr. Green.
Yeah, and Mr. Green.
He's amazing.
And Mr. Green washed it out and he combed it clean. These are called combs, and they're really a neat thing. Maybe if you get to 5th grade, maybe they still go over there to Wenham Museum and they comb out the wool. See, here are the combs, and they comb all the dirt out of the wool. Comb, pull. He cleaned and carded all their wool. Their fleece made such a fluffy stack. They cried. We want it back. Whew. The sheep went running cold and shaking behind the farmer. He was taking all their wool to Mr. Peel. Oh, what do you think Mr. Peel's going to do?
He's appealing.
Mr. Peel owned the finest spinning wheel. Twist, What had their fluffy fleece become?
Flat?
Really
Wait, I think it's yarn now. What's
All
a
right,
lock?
from fleece to yarn, it stretched and changed. They cried. Our wool looked strange. Chilly sheep with goosebumps crying rode right behind the farmer, flying down the road to Mrs. Moore, and who changed the yarn from white to color. Dip dye, drip dye. The yarn grew bright before their eyes. And while it dried upon the rack, one sheep cried, "Ah, let's take it back." See all the beautiful colors? What's this? The farmer asked his sheep. You're tangled up from head to feet. You're shivering cold and turning blue. So back to Farmer Bob's they flew. He found his favorite place to sit. Then Farmer Bob, get this, began to knit. Farmer Bob began to knit. I haven't read him this story yet. I'm going to have to read it to him. Knit, purl, the farmer's fingers looped and twirled. Crowded on the porch together, trembling in the nippy weather, they watched him knit. And when he quit, he put a sweater on to fit each sheep, and then he buttoned it.
I think that, why don't they just staple it onto them? Oh, puts cushion out of me.
I think that would be exactly what would happen. The sheep grew nice and warm again in brightly colored cardigans, in patterns made of red and green, and all the colors in between. That's a great idea, huh?
No, for chickens. He doesn't do the chicken things.
Now each year comes shearing time. The sheep wait eagerly in line to feel the click and hear the buzz.
Left, right, left, right, left, right.
And wear bright sweaters over fuzz. That's why this is all made from sheep's
I didn't see
wool.
that picture.
And this is a cardigan. So, a cardigan. I thought surely somebody would have a cardigan on today. This was their bright sweaters that were all over.
Oh, they put it
All
on
right.
every animal.
Because I do have a little surprise for you that I think you really like. So it's a crisp spring morning. A rooster's crow breaks the silence. The dew on a neatly spun spider web sparkles in the sunlight. Nestled in crisp straw, baby lamb and her twin brother begin their day. And there is a lamb. Do you know what we have at Wheelerbrook Farm? We have a new lamb. That's like one of the signs of spring. And I thought that it would be fun. And the lamb has black feet and a black head, but it's also got a black body. So this is a little different from these pictures. The two little lambs, just like you said that you had two lambs, are hungry. They nudge their mother with their little black faces and find her warm milk. Baby lamb's stubby tail wags back and forth as she fills her empty stomach.
Fills who's empty?
Their empty stomach. As she fills her, baby lamb's stubby tails wag back and forth as she fills her empty stomach, each one of them. Baby lamb's mother and the other ewes. Oh, you know something? That sheep. Do you know what Y-O-U? If you say Y-O-U. What's that word? You. Well, do you know what a mother sheep is called? A ewe, but it's not spelled Y-O-U. A ewe is E-W-E. A ewe. And that's a mother sheep. So, baby lamb's mother and the other ewes stare through the fence toward the house, looking for any sign of the farmer. And here he comes with his arms full of alfalfa hay. While their mothers pull the hay from the feeder, the lambs romp and play again. Baby lamb playfully kicks up her heels. It's such a beautiful spring day, just like today. Today is shearing day, and the ewes' woolly coats have grown long and thin. The farmer rests baby lamb's mother against his knees and carefully shears her. Soon mother is back with baby lamb and her brother. She seems very skinny now without her thick wool coat. It's so funny to see them when they've been sheared, when they first sheared.
Sheared all the way.
Suddenly, the gate to the sheep pen flies open, and in runs the farmer's sheepdog. The sheep flock together, barring, batting, bleating. The dog herds the sheep out through the gate and toward the pasture. And that's if you've got a flock of sheep. They would do that. But we only have one little lamb. And baby lamb runs ahead and loses sight of her mother. Ah, ah, she cries. Her mother calls back. And soon the family of three is together again. And there they've got their little black legs and their little black head. It is baby lamb's first time in the pasture. She nibbles at the tender grass and surprises the butterfly. Baby lamb and her playmates watch As the farmer walks along the fence, checking it for holes, the lambs cautiously follow the man and his dog from post to post as they put up the fence. And evening has come, and baby lamb's mother lies quietly in the grass, chewing her cud. What does that mean?
Good.
Yeah. Haven't you all been out to the Wheelerbrook farm? Did you come? Yeah, didn't all of them come? Didn't we talk about a cud before, but it wasn't with the sheep. It was with our goat, remember? Remember Bart the goat? And Farmer Bob told you that how many stomachs the goat had?
4.
4 stomachs, and that's why they have a cud. And they just like hiccup, and they just regurgitate or throw up a little bit, but it's not like what you think. They just regurgitate, hiccup. They hiccup, and up comes a little ball of their hay that's been partially chewed, but they didn't have a chance to chew it before. So now, when they lie down, they're all relaxed. They're just like you chewing gum. They just hiccup, and then they start just chewing that cud. Well, the sheep have 4 stomachs too. And you will see they'll eat fast, they'll eat the grass fast, and then they have to lie down later when they can just relax and they just chew it and chew it and chew it.
Okay.
Done. So that's it. Now, wait. Now I want to do what this is. This is
A bottle.
bottle. What do you think's in
Wine. Honey.
it? No, we're talking about sheep and lambs.
Milk.
No. It's a little formula that we mix up. It's a powdered milk formula. And this is what we have to feed our lamb 3 times a day. And he drinks it,
It's a baby
he
bottle.
sucks it. It's a little baby's bottle. I was watching somebody drink their water and thinking, oh, it's just like our little lamb does. Our little lamb, his name is Puck. And have you ever heard of William Shakespeare? He's a famous playwright. He's long ago. It was in the, 1700s?
The writer.
1664 to 1616.
Oh, all right. So he wrote a play, that Midsummer's Night Dream, that had a character that reminded us of the character that had Puck. And so our lamb is named Puck. And I thought, I was really nervous about this, very, very nervous about it. But I thought it would be fun if you could watch the lamb have his bottle. Would you like to do that? Would you like to watch the lamb have his bottle? He's very late for his bottle, so he's very hungry. And, but you are going to have to be very quiet. You won't be able to run. You're going to have to get your coats really warm because it's going to be outside. And you're going to have to do exactly what Mrs. Shelton tells you to do. And we're going to, like, I don't know if we can sit down or not, but maybe we could go through the gate, you know, where the little playground is, not through that gate into the big field right there. And we could, yes. And we could go and watch the little lamb. But we just can't. He gets very nervous. The lamb is probably 3 weeks old. And he doesn't mind it if you take hold of him. But, I mean, if somebody's holding him, but if he's loose and you put your hand out as if you were going to catch him or you're fast or anything, just like all animals, we've talked to you about that before. You have to be
Run away.
very quiet, yes. And somebody has loaned me the cage and they've also loaned me like this little harness for him. I'm still very nervous
What's
about
that black thing?
it. This is the nipple.
Yeah, that's like a baby bottle thing has it, and the baby has to like suck on it.
Right, yes.
I saw your cat before when I went there.
You did. Well, we'll have another calf. We'll have another calf.
For juice juice.
Ah, all right, yeah. So, you'd like to see this? And this is all part of spring, and since this is the first day of spring, I thought this would be really, really a nice thing to show you on the first day of spring. All right? Are you going to be able to do the part I said about not running and being really quiet?
Yes. Are we going there?
We're going to go out in the field. I have brought Puck in the truck, in the back of in the inside of the truck.
What?
He's in a cage on the inside of the truck, and he's probably very eager to have his lunch. He's eager, very anxious, wants to. He's hungry, in other words. He's hungry. This is his lunch. So he's ready for having his lunch. All right?
We have for lunch.
It's a he. And you know, boy sheep are called rams. R-A-M. Ram. U-E. Oh, thank you.
I had your chair, but down the other end.
Oh. I will.
He smells like a bomb.
Yes, he does. He has a very distinct smell. But I think he's going to really, really like his bottle. All right.
It looks like he's even swallowing it.
Oh, he was hungry.
My goodness.
He's always.
Do we have to get up in the middle of the night to feed him?
No, 3 times a day.
He has like milk in it.
I would do a lot for him, but
Why don't you sit back a little bit? All right, I'm going to
Oh my God, his slobber's coming. His slobber's coming. His slobber's coming.
He's making short work of that.
I hope there's a second bottle coming.
Is his mom black?
It will have black head and feet, but not the body.
Okay.
I think his
Really?
He's like cheese.
yeah, it's a little different shade now, but
Darling little
He's cute.
no, he really
He's gulping it down.
just loves. This is what he would have from his mother.
We've been here for like 2 seconds.
I know. So this is one of the signs of
Very hungry.
spring. Will you remember
He's
that?
gulping down like a pig.
This is a sign of spring, the baby animals that are all coming out, and the baby birds. You'll be watching all along.
Hey, can people do that? Up stuff. Is that good for people?
What? No, people would make that. Yeah, it's a special formula.
He's dripping it. It's just milk. It's just milk.
He needs a
Let
bib.
me make sure. Did I get it all? Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I want to make sure he gets every little bit of it.
Drink
There.
So precious.
So any other questions? Yes.
He got the drool. He got his drool on his
Oh, it would be much later, because he's just a newborn.
I don't want him to get sick.
It doesn't hurt. Just like a
I
haircut.
know. Anyone like to touch him? Would you like to feel him? Okay, why don't 3 or 4 people come? We'll just take turns feeling him. I love to put my fingers
I don't want to smell. Yucky! Yucky! Get me away from here!
but it has a good distinctive smell. You'll need to wash your hands really well after. All right, why don't you get back and let me
Yay, my hands so good. And you again.
You don't want to touch it?
feel right down. You can't feel
Yes, you do.
Dirt.
I know you.
See, it smells like rocks.
Gentlemen.
Good. Better than that lamb smell.
Oh, that's natural though. That's a natural.
Watch out for this splinter. He's very funny. You should watch out for this. It's very easy. Christopher. Yeah!
From Midsummer's Night Dream.
How did you get him? You don't need to breathe that much.
We bought him in the
You want to keep your jacket on? It's cold.
All right, why don't we let them
It's really cold for the first day of spring, don't you think?
No,
the rest of you all got
Did you put your jacket on for me?
I love my hands on the blocks, so it doesn't smell like bad lamb. My hands don't smell like a bomb anymore. And I rub it on the ground. Oh, what did you think? It smells like rock. No, don't be afraid.
I did everything. Did you all get to feel? All right, why don't you get back up and lie down?
All right, everybody take 2 steps back. Anthony,